Hey, this is Chris Nishijima, and welcome to another episode of Travel the Open Trail. Today we'll be talking about The Good Earth by Pearl Buck. The Good Earth fits into the category of historical fiction. It takes place in the 1900s in China, and it centers around Wang Lun, a farmer, and his family. Now, as you all know, one of the things that I really like to do with all these assignments is try to show you that reading a book is really just like traveling to another place. So it works really well that the book that we're reading right now actually has to do with the history of a place that's real in our world. I still like to think of it as a world apart, but let's just call it a world that's parallel to our own. We're here on Earth, and they're there on the Good Earth. Pearl Buck was raised pretty much in two completely different worlds. She was born in China, she was raised there, and then she came here to America, and she lived here. What I think she was trying to get across is that even though we have these huge differences between us, we're still in the same world. We still exist, we still bleed and have feelings, and we're all human. Now, one of the things that is prominent in this book that I want to talk about is the profound use of anti-feminism, which is rather strange, seeing as how it's written by a woman. Throughout the book, women are called things like wretched, slaves, burdens, but when you're reading the book, that's not the kind of thing that you get from it. I mean, Olan is probably the major character other than Wang Lun. And if I had to say for myself, I'd say that pretty much all of Wang Lun's success is because of her. It was her idea to go south to survive. It was her resourcefulness and knowledge that got them those jewels, which made Wang Lun rich in the first place. And it was her who bore him children and stayed by his side, even when he went off and bought himself concubines. One of the things that authors like to do in books is they like to create a character who's pretty much a representation of them. I think maybe Olan is that character for Pearl Buck. I mean, think about it. No matter what age you live in, there's going to be someone who looks down on women. But what Pearl Buck was trying to show us is, sure, maybe she's a woman, but that doesn't mean that she can't do great things. I mean, really, when you think about it, Olan is the loyal one. Olan is the one who was smart and thought of things. And no matter what, she never gave up. So, maybe Pearl Buck was trying to sneak in a little bit of feminism through anti-feminism. You know, the more I think about it, I really see really close parallels between Pearl Buck's life and the life of the family in the Good Earth. I mean, at one point in time, Wang Lun gets a daughter who turns out to be retarded. And that's exactly what happened with Pearl Buck. And yet, despite her disability, she turns into pretty much the most beloved child in the whole family. And maybe that's just Pearl Buck telling her daughter that she really cares about her, regardless of whether or not her daughter can do all the normal things that we can do. Now, let's talk about Wang Lun, the main character of the story. And for the most part, I really liked Wang Lun. I mean, on the very first day he meets his wife, he's scrubbing himself, buying all these fancy new things just so he can impress her, because he doesn't want her to think that she's married into some poor family, regardless of the fact that they are. It was good to see his character, because over time, he developed into this really great guy. He earned hard money, and he bought land. And what does he do with that land? He works on it. He works until he's soared, just so that he can make an honest living. Even when famine strikes the land, he still sticks to the honest life that he's always known. He takes his family south, and he works there. The rest of the family begs, but he carries around people all day on a rickshaw. I really admired his character. And so it was really sad towards the end of his stay in the South, when he pretty much stole all the money that that rich man had. Regardless of how the rich man treated everyone, that money was not theirs. And yet, Wang Lung, who his whole life, he lived by these moral principles of hard work and getting what you deserve. And then he suddenly turns into a thief. And then, slowly for the rest of the time, we see how this greed for money consumes him. He gets more and more money, and what does it do to him? It makes him spend fervently, just like the nobles in the House of Huang. And then he goes out and gets these concubines. And he pretty much betrays everything that he's known his whole life. I'm hoping that through the course of this book, we get to see Wang Lung recover from the life that he's begun to live. That he'll somehow realize what he's done wrong. And that he'll return to the honest living that he knows. Be the head of his household again. And just live like he always knew. In all honesty, though, I can't really be all that mad at Wang Lung. I mean, really, isn't that kind of what we all do? As humans, it's our nature to reach out to something and look for fulfillment. I mean, we all find something that we love, and I don't mean a pure love. Something that we take in, and it starts consuming us. And it eats away at our soul, and we want more and more of it, until finally we don't know anything except for that. And it destroys the lifestyle that we knew. And we're disgusted by ourselves, but what can we do about it? We're stuck. But now that I think about it, maybe that's another thing Pearl Buck was trying to emphasize. I mean, Pearl Buck was raised in a missionary family. Her mother renounced her own faith, but who's to say what Pearl Buck believed? Maybe she knew that without some sort of sufficient base, everything would fall apart. Maybe she knew that relying on your family, or relying on the land, or relying on yourself wouldn't be enough. That you needed some kind of higher standard to live for. I'm really enjoying this book. And it's kind of strange, actually, because it's kind of short. The chapters are only a few pages long, but you really don't miss out on anything. She knows how to consolidate it very well. Anyway, that's enough talking for now. Let's get moving. There's more of the Good Earth to see.